they just banned the GP to then follow with Camille. So they're basically saying, okay, Whippo, last game you actually played well. Fnatic understood. Camp Whippo early so he gets ahead on a split pusher. They want to remove that. These are the two main carry picks for him. And now it might just be tank versus tank, which is RNG's favorite.
And when I see the Gangplank ban in particular, champion that has fallen through picks and bans a couple of times this tournament, I wonder, does that mean they want to say, take a Shen side of an Ornn matchup or even prioritize
early
Shen?
Ornn
does very much struggle. The Ornn definitely makes sense anyway, but they basically guaranteed one great tank. If Ornn was taken, they could play Shen. They can just go for a blind Ornn and be very happy.
There's one pick I want to mention now, which is not a traditional split pusher like Camille, and Camille is Singed.
Okay.
It is a champion that Whippo in the past, not on the professional scene, has actually been kind of known for and played a lot. And it is something you can grab against some of these blind pick tanks if you want a champion that, again, is super hard to play against in the early to mid game.
Definitely one that was on a lot of people's lips. Played a lot in solo queue. Definitely rising up and can get you the sort of priority that's the same as invading the enemy jungle, because he proxies the wave, goes behind the turret, gets wards down, and can profit.
Well, we know that Let Me, of course, is a great Ornn player, and RNG's favorite playstyle is Let Me on a massive tank where he can engage. So by, again, removing the split pushers, they're hoping it's just tank versus tank, like Cho'Gath for Sion versus Ornn.
And if he's abandoned, he'll show up, he'll throw out an ult, he'll be relevant however many kills. They found 3 kills onto him in the early game of game number 2. It did not matter.
Tell you what, boys, these teams are looking awfully similar to what we saw in game number 2 so far. And there it is, the prediction from
Seen enough times to Fischio, it has to come true.
This dude is hot. He is on fire today, predicting the Aurelion Soul, now the Singed.
I want to give some credit to Papa Smithy as well, because we were sitting before the tournament started and thinking about potential surprise picks. And Singed was one of them, simply because he is so good against a lot of these tanks that gets locked in.
And the whispers about Scrims also was that Singed was seeing play, but it never seemed stage ready for anyone. They look for a different card, a different unlikely factor. They find the Singed, and when the game starts, we'll be able to talk a lot about what Singed provides. There's actually much more than is apparent on first glance.
I think Fnatic, they were probably ready for RNG to ban it second phase, seeing as they grab it this early on in the draft. But already know the matchup on top side, MLXG, he gets an Olaf. So we talked about how bringing him on could mean a little bit more aggression from RNG in the early game. And we know that's how Fnatic already playing the game. He's trying to do that on Olaf.
And our first sightings of Olaf were into a matchup like Skarner, where he can disregard things like the Impale and trade up in a lot of invasion scenarios. A lot has changed since then. Skarner's gone in and out of the meta. Seeing a lot more of him today. But if MXG's on form, you can do a lot with the Olaf.
So they banned the Aurelion Soul, but Talia is still available in the draft here. So if Caps want to stick to the roaming style, there is options.
And they do decide to ban out the Irelia from the side of Fnatic. Remember, that's what RNG played against them in game number 1 when they had that Talia. And they'll ban away the Morgana that was previously the round 1 ban. It was more important this time to get rid of the Vladimir, but Morg still important enough to keep that away from protecting Uzi.
For safety in the draft still is RNG, having to wait for Fnatic to round out the draft. They return to the rise. It's gone down in priority as this tournament has gone on.
But just give me Talia here. Push in, roam up to Singe's side, and then once you feel, okay, now Singe can actually sit behind the turret, you can play on the bottom side. And when Singe is left alone, he's so hard to deal with. I think Talia would still be the smartest pick for Fnatic.
Talia Singed is just the worst day in the life of MLXG when it comes to actually getting anything going. It's going to happen. It's going to be locked in here. And if the early game goes to ban, if there isn't a crazy level 1 that really throws a spanner into the works for Fnatic, watch and track MLXG. He had bad time against Peanut. It could actually be worse here in this game.
1 pick left for the LPL representatives. They know they're up against Braum and Ezreal in the bottom lane. They know they've got the Caitlyn yet again. What do they complement it with? And it looks like, once again, the saving power of the Tahm Kench is the call.
Yeah, I don't think they care too much about using the Devour here to stop a single ability. It's more the Tahm Kench ulti that is huge, because we know Fnatic are playing, you know, multiple lanes. They're flying around the map, and Tahm Kench ult was used very well by Ming beforehand to try and match these aggressive plays.
Small fun interaction. We don't often see Singe too much in team fights. I think this will be a pressure game. It won't be about the 5v5. If the Devour comes onto a target and you fling back the Tahm Kench, you get 2-for-1 special. So that's going to be one to track as the team fights do start.
This could be a very interesting game indeed, with that Singed pick coming out. Also getting to see MLXG show up. We've already talked about how he can be very aggressive and very unpredictable. But that could also be a win condition for Fnatic. If you can predict the unpredictable and shut him down in the early game, maybe that's how you get a big enough lead to win.
Yeah, the last 2 games we have highlighted how RNG's late game team fight is basically unstoppable if you look at the compositions. So it's made it very hard for Fnatic if they ever got to the late game 5-on-5s. I think the current draft, while it is still late game, that is fantastic for RNG, it is easier, air quotes, easier to deal with for Fnatic.
The 70-30 of game 1 and 2 has been reined in. 55-60 still for RNG, but not night and day like we saw with those earlier games.
For Fnatic, you've got to make sure that you're still maintaining that strong mental state here as well. We saw in the player cams last game, after losing those Smite fights, Broxah seemed frustrated at the end of the game as the Nexus was falling. It was Reckless who seemed a bit flustered. As long as Fnatic can keep their heads on straight and make sure they're coming into this game ready to rock, there's still the possibility of the reverse sweep.
Yeah, and as long as Fnatic keep drafting roaming mid laners, I feel confident in saying that Fnatic know they can win with this style, because it's execution that where it goes wrong. It is not the draft, and I'm glad that Fnatic keeps sticking to it, and they're probably going to play aggressive again.
While we won't talk much about the mega adhesive that Singed W the Goo until we get to the late game team fights, the first time I became a believer of the semi-reworked Singe was Cloud9 when they played it at Worlds, going for the grounded effect of the Goo into the Orianna Shockwave and guaranteeing the Shockwave. The seismic show play here from Caps has a similar interaction and could be oh so pivotal.
I mean, if memory serves correct, Singed is one of the only 2 sources of grounding in the game, along with Cassiopeia's Miasma, so it's something that a lot of the time you aren't expecting just from that slowing puddle. We'll see how effective Bwipo can be with it this time around.
Yeah, there's so much pick potential because of it. You already had the knockback from Taliyah. There's a Skarner ult from Broxah as well. Like, you're gonna get pulled really far back if you're caught out by Fling, and then a Skarner ult, and then Taliyah. Like,
You're going on vacation.
at some point, your team is just on the other side of the map, and there's nothing they can do to save you. So there's a lot of pick potential from Fnatic, and I feel like we've said this every game, but if Caps can roam from his mid lane and get his team ahead, Fnatic can start snowballing very hard.
2 games in a row, the sword has been matched by a stronger shield. Even though the champions changed the game plan, the essence of this game remains the same. Let's see if the sword can actually get the job done in game number 3.
Well, RNG threw their shield away when they subbed in MLXG and
That's
put on
true.
a 2-handed sword instead. They're like, let's go.
It's a bigger sword. That's how you fight a sword sometimes, with the MLXG way of doing it. Bottom side Reckless getting aggressive early on here with Hylissang. Ignite down onto Uzi. Not quite enough damage to finish him off, but Fnatic showing no fear early on in this bottom lane.
I can respect that. He's going for the lane control, the aggressive Ignite. Notice it is heal Ignite once again. 3 games of Ezreal. No sign of the teleport Ezreal for Reckless.
So good towards the top lane here. One of the reasons Singed works so well against a lot of these tanks is they don't have any kill pressure against him. He gets
He's on a mission.
Yeah, he walks, but oh, MLXG is actually up here.
For once.
He's on a mission, but he's running right next to the enemy jungler.
MLXG doesn't care. He doesn't even want to show himself.
MLXG says, I need my shoes. I need to get Predator online. You can deal with this guy.
So it looks comical. Question will be why? Why? It's not that he didn't notice the Singe right behind the enemy turret. It's that he'll surrender all of his bot side jungle if he walks up. They may get a kill, they may not, so they don't necessarily go for it. And look at Brox and Caps. With this fight, you know they would have been straight into that blue side jungle.
Oh, bot lane again. Good trades from Fnatic. They're playing so aggressive.
Olaf is here.
Early tower dive.
Let's see if this works out. MLXG right down here and ready to go. Wants to come around from behind. Here it is. Big trying to go forward onto the flash. We'll see what they can do with this one. Reckless going to be taken low, taken down. First blood over the side of RNG. It'll surely be a trade as MLXG is running the wrong way. Damage not quite finding its way onto him. We'll see who they give this one over to. It's Caps.
So this is the most classic MLXG play ever.
Yep.
He recalls topside, does not even care about any of his camps on the bot side jungle, just rushes straight down the river and ganks a lane that is getting pushed in. Fnatic, that was not the plan. They were waiting for the tower dive.
And Fnatic actually have to use 2 flashes over the wall to spare their blush and get something. So
unpredictable.
it's a bonanza of flashes, summoners, and more, and it's only a 1-for-1.
But we did get to see what's going to happen in this game where if you play bottom side as Fnatic, Singe is just sitting and split pushing on top side 24/7. They move in. MLXG rushes in behind him because he's like, I need to gank this lane here. They're getting pushed in. It's actually a good play from him to secure a kill for his team, but it's obviously very risky.
I believe he was caught on the tail end of vision, and by he, I mean both members of Fnatic as they went for that turret dive. They already, of course, had the warning marker on their heads for the Predator. It ends up a 1-for-1. The red buff does go to Caps. But damn if it wasn't a bit of fun.
That Acer Predator replay showed exactly what we were expecting in the difference of junglers with this substitution from RNG. That's the kind of early game action MLXG brings to the table.
You learn something new every day with MLXG, some good, some bad, but that's, of course, the charm of having him out there.
Some good, some bad, always interesting.
That's MLXG.
Well, RNG now find themselves tied up 1-1 with Fnatic. Gold very, very close. And remember, as we've gone through this so far, it's been Fnatic that take the early leads. Fnatic the ones banging at the door of RNG saying, let us in. We're trying to get to that Nexus before we reach this inevitable wall that is RNG team fighting potential, and they just haven't been able to make that happen yet.
But just quickly to go back at the play that happened before here, the ward that was placed by RNG that could have spotted Fnatic moving in for tower dive was actually too far around the corner, did not see them.
You got to toggle it again on the screen here, so it was a bit ships in the night at the end of the day. Focusing on this game, we'll see Repo try to once again return to the dirty farming, or the proxying as different people call it, when you're able to farm those minions behind the turret. People often ask what the power of that is, although this time Repo, maybe you're in trouble.
Whippo finding himself caught between a rock and a hard place, but can he get away from it?
Level 6!
That's the Singe we all know and love. Hits level 6, pops the ultimate, and goes right back in for more vision. Bottom side, it's a 2 versus 2 as Uzi gets himself gobbled up to safety.
They're coming with the roam again. This is the strategy. Leave Whippo alone top side, let him buy time, and then try and win bot. He actually gets
doesn't even get money over, gets executed, and wastes all the enemy jungler's time.
And this is, again, a dramatic retelling of what Singe provides. The ability to go behind the turret makes the tank stay in lane and say, I can't give up a full wave to make this play happen. I need to stay at my turret. They don't even get the kill. And usually, if the jungler isn't there, you get deep vision, you get more, and you actually take over the enemy topside jungle, as it's all about the bot side jungle right now.
Roxa has no ultimate for this play. Remember, Skarner ulti could be huge, but it's not available. Ming gonna be the target here first and foremost. Stun comes out, damage comes down, Caps comes through and grabs the money. As now Let Me shows up a little bit too little, maybe a little bit too late.
Nice.
A fantastic block from Hylissang means the second part of the ult's going nowhere fast. And Fnatic get out.
What a clean tower dive from Fnatic here. They know Hylissang needs to tank the turret as he can just step out down towards the bottom side and he won't be at risk of dying. So they secure the kill onto Ming. And Let Me's TP here was way too aggressive.
That's gonna have to match MLXG.
All right, MLXG decides to pop the ulti, gets the flash away, but that'll be all.
And I feel like the turret dive execution does answer a kind of tertiary question we had compared to like the early win conditions we decided for actually defeating RNG, and that's, okay, Fnatic, you have been prone to looking down. The question of tilt is always raised. 2 games down in the chamber, how do you do on this aggressive execution that you need to make work with the sort of drops you're playing? The answer is very nice.
Yeah, one of the very big stories around Fnatic, actually we might have to delay that because Yahoo is topside.
Here we go again. Just Singe things knocked up into the air. A lot of chain CC this time around, no escape.
But every time this happens, look at the minimap and notice how Caps has already left his mid lane to go to the other side of the map. RNG are trying their hardest to ward everything to try and spot when he's coming. And Uzi and Ming, their job is just to stay alive for as long as possible while the rest of RNG are trying to kill the Singe.
And we have the Singe to build, the
The classic.
triple dark seal, all about the extra regen and effective stats the Singe can use. From stacking, there are, of course, none of those effects that don't stack. You do get the extra power on everything to stack it up.
And just to go back then to the point about Fnatic and not tilting in a game 3, a huge change for this team was getting Youngbuck as the team director, because what he actually managed to do was he introduced a culture where you don't blame each other, you don't blame each other. Mid lane Caps is getting attacked.
Caps gets himself away, flash from MLXG, but the flash after from Broxham means he's out of there. Fnatic come out on top.
And the timing on the Ragnarok as well was used to try to turret that Reckless on the bot side. It wasn't available, just about to come off. He goes down. Nice execution by Fnatic.
And MLXG has already shown us multiple ganks, rushing into lanes, left and right, trying to do something. Whippo is fairly squishy with this build. That is a thing we have to highlight. If he does get locked down by any sort of CC, he does die fairly quickly.
And a bit of bookkeeping, you don't actually get the extra ability power on stacks if he's actually involved in kills. Everything else stacks with the ability power is unique. You only get one round.
Let's see what build he wants. Some people, you know, you have the Rod of Ages into Rylai's, you have Righteous Glory builds, you have Leandries as an important item if you want to deal damage.
Tons of options.
The mana scaling was removed, so you get a lot less heavy mana builds. I think Rod of Ages is a bit of a thing.
Abyssal Mask, maybe?
Abyssal Mask possible. Rylai's Rush is a big one as well. That's what Impact had to do over in North America. Impact had the Singed bans, but no Singed games at this tournament. But you're right. The thing with Singed, you kind of look at all the ability power and tank items and say, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, it all good. Great. There's a lot of things you can go for with it. We just have to see what Whippo decides to grab for himself. Remember, one of the deaths on his side was an execute under the turret.
Yep. So we will have a little bit of mismatched kill and death counts on the scoreboard this time around, but we'll see how well Whippo can continue this split push, because he can draw so much aggro from the enemy team as long as he keeps positioning himself correctly and timing them right.
I mean, you're also going to hit a point where Caps can go top and you can tower dive Let Me. If he gets poked down by the poison first, if that doesn't happen, keep going bottom side if you're a Fnatic.
MLXG and Broxus sort of staring each other down here at the entrance to the blue side jungle, keeping track of one another. Ultimate will be available shortly for Brox. That is available for MLXG. And that ulti is the difference between Olaf being able to do well in these fights or not. As long as he has it, he's not worried about the Skarner at all. Caps below half HP could be risky if this fight breaks out in full, but it looks like that's not going to be happening anytime soon. Xiaohu will just continue pushing up the wave.
On the top side here, Singed hasn't been able to return to the proxy, has fallen down a couple of times recently. What you usually want to see is double ward in the enemy red side jungle would set up maybe a safer Rift Herald if they ever actually have a cross-map play enacted by RNG. But RNG, ignoring the Singed, trying to play bottom side of the map, get their own forward vision, but for now being slowed down by Caps and Brox.
They wanted to contest the chickens, but it's very, very dangerous to fight Skarner in the Spires. He has unlimited mana, he's really, really fast. They back away from that one, not one to risk it.
Oh, another important thing here for RNG is the fact that the BF sword came in from Uzi makes it a lot easier for him to actually push back the wave. Because the way you normally set up the dives here for Fnatic is that Reckless and Hilson gets the push, then Caps and Broxus shows up and you're stuck under your turret and you get collapsed on. But Uzi is actually able to match this push very easily, and then they can just step away from the wave if Caps is roaming. And Caps needs to use a defensive ult now, which will slow down the snowball a little bit.
First time, honestly, in the first 15 minutes, we're seeing RNG control pace of the game. And speaking of controlling pace,
Whippo again, caught out a bit here, tries to run himself away. Remember, he has the Boots of Alacrity for bonus slow resistance, but he's not that resistant to damage. Does go down for the third time.
Still very squishy, and the moment the ult is used defensively by Caps, then Fnatic then realize, oh, we can't actually do anything if they attack Whippo, and MLXG, he just runs straight to that top lane with Predator.
we get the answer. We do see Nathan Wisp in the inventory. It's going to be Shirelius, you'd have to think, from the Singed here. Turbo Singed, the expectation when you see that item this early.
Xiaohu hanging around bottom side, but remember the Realm Warp was used shortly ago, a little while ago, to make sure they force the ult away from Caps so that he doesn't have that to make a play for a turret dive.
You have to remember that Ryze ulti was nerfed again.
Yep.
And the cooldown is now sitting at that 180 seconds.
It's very long.
The base. It's very long. You feel like it's a completely new game when it actually is ready once again for you. We'll go down slightly with the CDR, but for Xiaohu, it's hard for him to follow things like a Talia. But Ryze is one of the champions who can do it, and obviously can port another member with him if needed. So there's ways for Xiaohu to try and match the roaming.
Whippo just continues throwing Let Me around up here in the top side. The CS very even between these two. The early Abyssal Mask from Let Me does a good job at preventing some of that poison damage, as well as making it so Whippo takes a bit more from the Bellows Breath whenever he gets in range of the Ornn. In the jungle, you can see Cinder Hulks completed along with those Predator Boots on both junglers. Bottom side, whoop, Uzi barely gets it.
And he's been stifled, right? That's the thing about Whippo, is after falling down 3 times, been stifled, less of the proxying, just trading farm with Ornn, who has enough items now, the Catalyst completed into the full Abyssal Mask to stand up, tank the wave, and take trades. It means the Singed isn't creating map pressure top. As you mentioned, Deficia with the BF sword onwards, Uzi is getting lane control and bot side. This forward foot draft from Fnatic is again slowing down This is much more the tempo RNG is looking for. We're looking for Fnatic to once again make the next proactive move.
Yeah, they should still be able to at least pressure Uzi and Ming away from this bot lane turret, but it has taken them quite a while now, and the QSS is suddenly completed on a Tom Ken, so he's a tough target to lock down for Brox, and if you go for Uzi, you just get the Devour coming in. So it's very smart itemization from the RNG bottom lane, and you can see here how they are not really too scared and they can instantly just kill the wave. Now Caps is on his way, the mist should be called, and they should be just stepping back, or they can go forward and trade. Now they might die.
Ming and Uzi have to retreat from this one. Caps and Brox are showing up. MLXG looking to come in from behind. Tom Kench ulti goes through, still looking to make the plays. Caps over the wall, going to be chased down by MLXG. And he's the first one to fall. Rise ulti comes through, able to find a little bit more damage. Ming now spinning Hylissang back out, popping the shield on his own thick skin. The CC onto Hylissang is incredible, but not incredible enough. He'll still walk himself away. It's 1-for-0 RNG, but now Uzi goes too far forward. He's going to be punished. Ming goes down too. Awesome turnaround from Fnatic, but MLXG is still here. Xiaohu is still here, but they won't find anything else.
Execution from Ming there was very off. Wasn't expecting to re-engage out of positioning with the flash. Couldn't get the Devour. We're still fighting though. This is another one of these long extended fights.
These teams are bloodthirsty in this third game. I don't think it'll go on any further. Maybe.
These are famous last words when
Yeah.
RNG hits the rift.
Meanwhile, Whippo is his top lane, pushing in here. Let Me has returned after just 10 million fights.
We'll talk about the replay, then talk about Whippo. But the replay starts, and RNG are ahead of this way. They know what to do. And MLXG has snuck all the way around. Caps finds the threat in melee range. Not the strong suit of a Talia. And I thought that would end the action. But specifically watch Uzi here, as for once, he's caught red-handed.
Yeah, he wants to get up the... Trying to get the kill onto Hylissang. He thinks maybe... Oh, that's one more hit on him, but... Brox actually hides really well around the corner here. I think Let Me was looking for opportunities to try and TP down, and that's the TP we saw just at the end that was cancelled, because obviously there's still Singe right next to him. So Let Me ends up staying in his lane, but wanted so badly to join this team fight and get away from Whippo.
Greed is a deadly sin indeed. Uzi now 0, 1, and 2 from that one. He was part of the kills they got, but you hate to see it happen when you just get a little bit too trigger happy to clean up a bit more on the end of the fight. Fnatic now sitting at about, honestly, not much of a gold lead at all. 300 gold, only the difference in the kills between the two teams, 16 minutes in.
And it's very important to highlight with Singe compared to other tanks. His scaling is not that great. Sure, in team fights, the grounded or one good flank can be important, but it's not a massive Ornn ulti that can hit 5 people at once. So it is going to be tough for Whippo if he doesn't start getting ahead of this lane.
And we have to connect that point to teleport plays. Ornn teleports in. We know the Horn is coming in, and then it's a big team fight impact. Singe needs setup time after a long teleport channel. Doesn't have that same impact there either.
Xiaohu almost walked towards that river brush, but just giving Brox and Caps a little bit of false hope there as Fnatic, again, moving members up into the river, crossing into enemy jungle territory. Glacial Fissure coming down now onto Ming. Predator has been used by MLXG as he wants to go a little bit further forward onto this one. Loses about half his health. Ming going to be the target. They know he can save anyone else. Reckless also going to be here providing firepower. Ming still barely going to be kept alive. Caps grabs the damage onto him. Xiaohu now. Whippo going in. Flash into the fling, and Uzi's gone.
Fnatic were looking for a fight, and RNG thought they could take it because Let Me was walking down from top lane. He didn't have his TP. It was used before and cancelled. Whippo had his. So the moment Fnatic realized, wait a minute, this is a 5 versus 4. They just turn and kill him.
Say whatever you want about Singe teleports. If he's the only one coming in, Turbo Singe did the work, got the flip. And Fnatic now will at least take bot lane turret off the bat.
Awesome fight there for Fnatic. One-upping RNG, taking them down in those team fights that we've been talking about so much this series. That will be turret first blood over to Fnatic. And critically, gentlemen, this is that one condition we've talked about in the past games. RNG getting first turret bottom, 100% win rate. Not in this game.
That is very, very true. And if you are Fnatic, I feel like every single time we talk about them slowing down and how it's in RNG's favor, we get a big fight like
That's
this one.
what they need to do.
And Fnatic, it actually doesn't start that well for them, but if you look at the minimap, Let Me's walking from top lane, Whippo can TP. Fnatic, they realize he TP's in, and now RNG, you're stuck.
Ming was guarding the blast point, that's why they didn't engage, and then Whippo says, I'm pretty damn fast. He gets Chilling Smite, you wouldn't notice. Gets on, flash in. Uzi's dead, of course, used that summoner earlier. Great execution by Fnatic.
Some awesome communication and team play from that Acer Predator replay. You can see right there, Fnatic coordinating well, taking down another turret now in the top side, bringing that lead up to 3,500. It'll be shrunk a little bit as Uzi grabs turret bottom side.
And we got a small example in that fight of some of the small things to look for with the amount of knockbacks. It was Caps with a knockback coming in. It was, of course, the fling from Whippo onto Uzi. We're going to get a lot more of this. So these are fairly spread out fights. Will be very good for Fnatic if they can just secure that one little pick at the start of it.
And securing picks is much easier when you can get into enemy territory, set down some wards like we're seeing Fnatic do right now. MLXG and Xiaohu again trying to invade the Fnatic jungle near the Raptor pit, take control over that area, but it's Fnatic with a multi-man push in the mid lane, but it's Uzi knocking down the tier 2 bottom side, has an answer.
What more did you get was a question we asked in game 1, in game 2, and Fnatic have really come back. Found a lot from that play bot side. Bot lane, turret into a Drake, into the Rift Herald, and the threat of another turret. They did end up, of course, trading the mid lane outer of RNG. They're an inner turret, but it's actually very difficult to return to an inner turret advantage unless you have a Camille or a split pusher. Ornn is very unlikely to walk bot side and crack an inhibitor himself.
Important to note, the Ornn also has the Banner of Command up and running now, which is a very big hassle for Singed to clear away that minion. It's immune to spell damage, so he's got to sit there and just bonk it over and over again. Not what he wants to do.
Got the dematerialized, a few stacks still left, so there's a couple of minutes now where he can deal with it that Fnatic can still use to try and get another fight. Now Whippo will get attacked. Xiaohu and MLXG are going for him. Ming could also ult in, but Baron is alive, so that would be risky.
Whippo buying time as Singed wants to do. Runs into MLXG here.
Nice.
CC locked down, no way out.
Good problem solving there by the side of RNG. No real way for Whippo to go in. It didn't have his flash out. Nice pincer. That's what you want to see.
Simply just pins him down. The grounded effect, of course, against Xiaohu. Didn't really do much because we're still gonna kill you.
Yeah.
And commenting on the items that I see from the Ornn and what we're seeing around the board, also worth pointing out Black Cleaver on MLXG's Olaf. A very bruiser style of Olaf, not going for some sort of a righteous glory or more tank-oriented itemization.
And he actually did this before, also against Fnatic. The very first time they played each other here at MSI when capturing the Yasuo pick, Fnatic realized, oh, we can just kill the Olaf every time. We don't have to respect him as a tank. They can look to do the same here if we have these front-to-back team fights where Reckless and Caps are just hitting whatever is right in front of them.
Doesn't necessarily have the most physical damage to synergize, but it's only the Caitlyn. And at least in these mid-game fights, the target that Olaf is hitting, the target that Caitlyn is hitting is very rarely going to be the same.
Yeah,
however,
I hate the build. I hate it.
I think as a snowball, but he does have 4 kills. He is going to be able to run at Caps, and if he can just trivialize Caps, maybe it's something.
I just think when you have 4 kills as an Olaf, be as tanky as possible so the best AD carry in the world has more time to order.
You sound like a support man right there. True through Deficio.
It's true. Where's my Oracle?
That's a Chad build right there, Deficio. He's doing the damage. He's trying to carry his team, but Xiaohu right now, again, trying to catch Whippo, but he's the one who now finds himself potentially caught out. Fracture comes through, going to be able to find the stun on that one, grounded up.
Who's chasing who?
Bringing everybody into the picture here. Xiaohu getting a lot of damage down to Whippo, but he should still be brought down here. Caps will be giving the money for that.
So they're gonna trade that for the top lane turret. RNG already there with MLXG and Let Me to take it down, but both teams seem to favor just killing whoever's in that bot lane. It's Whippo pushing forward, he gets attacked. This will only happen now, while we're still fairly early into the mid-game. Once we get a little bit further in and the Baron is a massive risk or threat to take, you can't really go down and 4-man kill a side lane.
Right, they're going to force the movement here from RNG. They will put down the Rift. No minion wave to join it, so we'll get poked out a little bit. Not going to lead to a turret here, you wouldn't think.
No, just a little bit of damage. Shelly will get off 1 extra auto attack, not a whole lot, so. Rift Herald, not the most successful use you could think of, but hey, sometimes you just need to force the rotation.
The Baron play that we saw last game from Fnatic, where they actually had the 4K gold lead. Kaza got into the pit, he stole it, no one stopped him. That was a big problem and cost him so much momentum in that game, and suddenly the scaling of RNG kicked in. This game here, it's kind of the same story for Fnatic, but as we highlighted earlier, it is a bit easier for them to win late game fights with both Taliyah and Israel on their side. But the one thing I want to highlight for Fnatic's Baron setup is that the grounded effect from Singed is fantastic at denying people from actually getting into the Baron pit in the first place.
Can't flash.
If you have the control around it and you put it down on MLXG, he's not getting in there, and then Broxah can secure the Baron with the smite. Might be an interaction to look for if Fnatic keeps the control.
We'll keep our eyes open for that one as 24 minutes into the game. Baron dances, Baron contest, Baron vision all becomes much closer to reality, as that will become a highly contested objective. It's Xiaohu in the bottom side, split pushing against Whippo Singed. And that Singed doesn't have a lot of tankiness just yet. Leandri's Torment, Shirelia's Reverie, Uzi going to be forced to be saved by Ming's Tom Kench. Tries to get himself away, pops the heal to give Ming a little extra move speed to avoid the shove. RNG thinking about maybe needing to collapse there, popping the Predator on the Olaf, but now bottom side it's Whippo using the ultimate, trying to escape from Xiaohu, who flashes forward to land the Rune Prison. TP now going to be used, Whippo trying to escape. It's going to be a split fight at the start. They've already lost the top laner for Fnatic, as Reckless is caught behind enemy lines. A little more damage to finish him off. On the front line goes Xiao, who's still surviving for now. But Tom Kench counters Skarner as they're still able to find more damage. It's RNG with a 3 for 0 as Hylissang and Broxah have to run away.
Oh, Fnatic lose so many kills here. RNG, they see that Singe in the bot lane. They know he's squishy and they attack him. Again, Whippo dies, and RNG, they know. TP and take the fight, win it. They're looking towards the Baron. Fnatic, that early goal lead, it means nothing now.
Seen the Singe getting assistance from his team, but just as Hylissang walked up and it looked like Singe had flashed to safety, they realized they were caught between a rock and a hard place. There's no way out. Reckless went down early. Now the Baron has started at very low for RNG.
And that save from Ming at the end is exactly why this champion with a QSS is so good against Skarner. If he's anywhere near the person you pull, the pull is neutralized, and they don't lose anyone.
So get to see it's MLXG once again with Xiaohu going for Whippo. And MLXG, he's used to playing this kind of style of game back in the LPL, so he knows you just flash in, secure the kill as fast as possible, and now you can turn on the rest of Fnatic.
Reckless was right down the left, and Hylissang, instead of going to the Singe, went to help him, but there was no escape plan for Reckless or for the side of Fnatic. RNG able to chase down the kills, pick up the Baron from here. Again, sword versus shield is such an appropriate metaphor for this game, and sadly RNG one step ahead again.
I feel like we're experiencing deja vu every single game. It's Fnatic with a lead. RNG hit the mid-game turn they need, that counter-attack, and then they find themselves in the driver's seat with a Baron.
I mean, this is why a lot of people looked at this matchup and said, well, this is heavily RNG favored, because while Fnatic can do well in the early game, RNG just fights so well, they match your fights so effectively, and it's happening again.
Hylissang caught on the wrong end of the Weaver's Wall, does survive for now. Staying here with the rest of the team. Whippo pops the ultimate on Singed. MLXG wanting to go in here, throws down the Chilling Smite. Ornn ulti coming through as well, finds its way onto Reckless. That's a big pick for RNG. Xiaohu takes the kill, and the push continues down the mid lane.
That's a strike they needed. Very nice execution from RNG. It'll get them so much, given they still hold the Baron buff for 2 minutes. Mid lane, outer turret goes down, and those hopes of Fnatic forcing extra games goes down as well.
They've got the Baron buff for 2 minutes. There's no Braum ult, no Singed ult, no Taliyah ult. Fnatic tools are not available to stop this assault. RNG will continue for now. They lose the minion wave. Tier 2 still kept alive.
And early in the game, RNG indexed heavily on magic resist. Multiple magic resist items on everyone. It was a double Abyssal Mask game. Rise and also Let Me on the Ornn picking it up. Now the armor is getting pieced together with the gold lead they're putting down. And Reckless going down first plays into the hands of RNG.
So RNG have taken now all these outer turrets here, only missing the one in the mid lane. Meanwhile, Whippo was in the side lane. Just like last game, big difference between Camille and Singe and how fast you're gonna kill the turrets. So Singe split pushing is rarely gonna be your win condition. He can push and he can join for a surprise flank. That is a way to create a pick for them, but right now, it's all RNG favored.
It's been a team effort to shut down the Singe. We saw MLXG earlier, Xiaohu roaming up, Xiao in the side lane as the game went on, and with teleport, he was unlocked onto the map. A team effort has made the Singe largely only being a thorn, no more than anything else for the side of RNG.
He even had to sell his Boots of Alacrity to get Mercury Treads instead to try to survive some of this heavy CC coming out of the likes of Xiaohu. But now, the Cloud Drake will fall in favor of RNG. We'll see what else happens here as they've still got 20 seconds left on the Baron. Probably not going to be too much more done with that. But RNG now sits almost at a 3,000 gold lead. A little bit over a 3,000 gold lead, I should say. As the tier 2 turret goes down, that'll bring it up to about 4,000 gold. Fnatic have to find a way to strike back.
Well, we always got to look at minion waves here, because Sin's just often starting slow pushes some of the side lanes, and then he's suddenly in the other one. Bot lane here, it's going to take a while before that wave is pushed in for RNG, so they only have the mid lane wave to deal with. Can they maybe get a fight instead?
Uzi on the flank. It's not normally the 80 carry you see flanking, but when you got the rest of the team right there, why not? Hylissang trying to back himself away. Broxah looking to go for a pull, can't quite find it. Two already dead. Reckless looking to run away. The Ornn ulti comes through. Reckless still able to sidestep that one. MLXG survives, but RNG have found themselves two.
And 2 picks already. The minion wave coming in. Reckless!
Oh, make it 3. Reckless has no way away from Uzi here.
This is all with Sin still in the side wave. He's going to have to recall. It's getting consent.
Caps wants to go after Uzi, but instead he gets caught out, beaten down as well. RNG, 4 dead opponents. They push into the base. They've got themselves already onto inhibitor turret number 1.
And we said this before, yeah, RNG, they're so good at playing these scrappy games, playing games with tons of skirmishes and team fights. This is what they do so often back in the LPL. Fnatic tried their hardest to really get ahead in these games here, but every single time that RNG managed to match it and get the advantage over on their side. It is now 2 inhibs to 0, a 7k goal lead as well for RNG.
Times are dire for Fnatic after that push. Disaster from RNG's success in that setup. They just weren't ready to stop it on the side of Fnatic.
And Fnatic, at the end of the day, did their research and said, we need to attack them, we need to roam. This is how we got our advantages. They played to that. RNG also were fully aware, and their defensive play has been beautiful. This was the outnumbered fight. Singe is in the top lane. He knows he can't actually change anything if he comes over. Reckless does survive at the start here, but him actually tripping up and falling down is what really cemented the base being ruined.
Want to point out there was also a flash devour from Ming in that fight to save Xiaohu and make it so RNG didn't drop a single man.
It did seem like Reckless could have just jumped with the arcane shift over the wall and found a safer path back into the wave. He tries to go direct line translation, and that's where Uzi catches him getting a victory.
There's 1 inhibitor left to take now for RNG, standing there on the top side, and you can see the team focusing their efforts on pushing that down now. Whippo still across the map, but likely realizing the team's going to need him. One more big lost team fight is the game for Fnatic.
Right now it's looking like RNG will go into the final on a 9-game win streak. They had such a rough start to the group stages, came in only the day before groups started. Jet lag was a very real thing, had to figure out what exactly they needed to play in order to win, and after the couple of days of back and forth wins and losses, they've just been dominating.
They'll be equalizing the longest win streak, of course. Flash Wars 3-0 in the play-in final into 6-0 at the start of group stage. Here we do see the Weaver's Wall used.
Absolutely insane performances from RNG so far. Weaver's Wall comes out from Cap, trying to cut him off a bit here. Does separate MLXG from the rest of the team, takes him low. He pops the Ragnarok to escape. True Shot Barrage finds him in the back, but it's not enough damage to take him down. Whippo wants the flank here, coming up through the river. RNG make their way towards him. Whippo can't run into this 5-man squad alone. Fnatic just a little bit desynced there, weren't able to make that collapse the way they wanted to.
Oh, but they really want that fight.
Only finds its way onto Hylissang. Baron live in 7 seconds. Enemy jungler's low.
They don't have a lot of time. The minion waves are about to hit in bot lane, mid lane a little bit further away. RNG still control the pit, and with all those recalls, Fnatic could probably given up on this Baron.
This is why it's so important to have those inhibitors down like this. It makes it nigh impossible for Fnatic to contest. They need a godly smite from Broxah to try to go in and save this one, but instead, he's caught out by a beautiful prediction!
Beautiful stuff there. That is the sort of play you like to see. On skill expression, not always there. Predicts the flash, catches him out. Now there's no smite. Now it's Baron RNG.
A flash predicted is a Baron earned, and now RNG, 7,000 gold up yet again. They've got everybody alive. Enemy jungler dead for 30 seconds, pushing down the top side. Hylissang caught out in his own jungle, surely going to fall here. Ace in the hole comes through to seal the deal. Uzi goes on a rampage, and the march down the top lane continues.
They gotta wait for the minion wave, but it's on its way for them to get that last in. If Fnatic will be forced to go back and try and defend. Hylissang is dead for another 30 seconds. He's not going to be there for the next fight if RNG just force it now.
Waiting on the minion wave doesn't seem to be the plan. They at least get a couple of pot shots onto that heavily armored turret.
There we go.
Now we've brought him up. The minions are here to party. Seismic shoving him in. Not really a very important target. Caps now being chased down. There comes your Orn Horn as Caps gets bursted, barely getting himself away. The damage coming through. The Guardian Angel and MLXG. Reckless finds a shutdown onto Xiaohu. He's able to grab it on MLXG as well. Brox is still looking to find some more damage. Uzi taking very low. Triple kill over onto Reckless.
He's got to look
Big
for more
trying to get away from this one. Surely there's no way out. A Quadra for Fnatic's AD carry. Let me as the last man standing. They want to just provide time for Reckless to walk over here and take him down. Let me wanting to get away, but that should not happen. Broxton wants to provide the CC. Pentakill for Reckless.
What a story. We had two Quadras. One goes the way of Reckless, one goes the way of Caps. This one, the third one of the tournament for them. They leave it on the silver platter for the man that played so well in the regular season. Feel-good moment for Fnatic.
We just had RNG looking to win the entire game, but they walk past the turret, they rush down to the Nexus turret, and they fight Fnatic, but they lose.
The beautiful thing about this one, guys, is why it happened. The beautiful thing was they actually had Ezreal and Sin split pushing. There were no super minions pushing in because they killed both waves before that all started.
A sloppy play from RNG may be the breath of hope Fnatic needed. Let's take another look at how they do it.
They all jump in, the turrets are there dealing a ton of damage to FNC and the rest of the team, and Caps, while he takes so much damage, he stays alive, and Xiaohu is suddenly knocked back, and he's going to be taken down.
Uzi's under turret here again. Both minion waves pushed out, so nothing's around to create any more threat in the base. But Fnatic are able to clean up, and that's why we get that extended pentakill.
That is the first pentakill of all of MSI 2018. Reckless, like you already said, got a quadra kill earlier. Caps got a quadra kill earlier, but this is the first one that goes all the way with this last shot. Beautifully done by Fnatic. Now the game sits not even 1,000 gold apart. Fnatic feel like they've got the chance. Inhibitors have all respawned.
And it was so important in that last fight that Broxa walked in, got his ult onto Xiaohu, and he didn't use his QSS until the very, very last second of it. So he got pulled all the way in onto that turret, dealt no damage, and just got taken down so quickly. So in the heat of the moment, I think RNG was so confident this was it, they got it. But then Fnatic find a way back.
They thought they were 10 seconds away from hands off the keyboard and celebrating a spot in the grand final. They're halted for now, and the gold lead also is really nothing to write home about. It's about 1,000 gold.
Yeah, all the inhibs just respawned. Like, we are even now. Reckless is on 4 items with this Ezreal. Sure, Uzi's on a Caitlyn in the late game, but we keep highlighting how this RNG composition is not just steamrolling over Fnatic in the late game.
I'm sure the fans at home have shifted their expectations with us. It's not game 1, it's not game 2. They can actually win a straight 5v5.
Whippo finding his way towards the enemy team here in the river, but MLXG gonna be caught out! Big pick! Uzi keeping himself away from the seismic shove. Fnatic now 5-man pushing down the mid lane. They've got priority, they've got the man advantage. Let's see what they can find with it.
Remember that DPS build from MLXG, not looking very useful right now for him. He dies so quickly. Fnatic and Reckless, they want the turret.
Fnatic pushing down, death ball middle. They've got the inhibitor turret already down. Inhibitor will be the target now. They take it. No effort whatsoever required to blow that one out of the water. As they back themselves away, they don't want to risk anything else.
With Uzi this strong, they can't end the game. It's just a mid lane inhibitor. As Deficio mentioned, it's looking hard to return to those 2 down inhibitors if Fnatic can keep playing on the RNG side of the map.
One thing I also want to point out, as we're getting into the late game where builds are becoming completed, remember with Ornn on the side of RNG, you've got those upgrades that can allow this team to scale even harder here as well. You've already got that purchased on the side of Xiaohu. We'll see if Uzi grabs his anytime soon.
A nice bonus for sure, but we always know the big late game fights. It's all about the execution between the 2 teams. Reckless has shown now with the pentakill, and also him taking out MXG after, how much damage he can actually deal to this front line of RNG. Let me is the main tank. He needs to be the one soaking the DPS while Uzi and Xiaohu are picking their targets.
Every game, the gold graph, as it was on our screen a moment ago, has gone up, it's gone down. This time it was RNG in control earlier That last play has really shifted momentum. A very seesaw 2-game advantage for RNG, and yet the extra games we hoped for are closer to reality.
And this could be one of the biggest turnarounds we have seen. A team is down 2-0 in a semi-final. They have lost 2 inhibs. They have lost everything on the map. And the enemy team, one of the best team fighting teams in the world in RNG, walks down their base and lose the fight.
Not just one of the best team fighting teams in the world, a team that you're also have lost both games in the group stage too. Fnatic have not been able to find the weakness of RNG so far at this tournament, but this might be where they can. Caps takes a single shot from Uzi, loses a third of his health. Ace in the hole gets fired off, finds its way onto Whippo, who's now behind enemy lines and needing to run for the hills. RNG being collapsed on now by the rest of Fnatic. The trap gets stepped on. Broxa can't make the pursuit any further. Whippo still wasting time.
He's still running right now. Fnatic has used 2 flashes. MLSG wants to kill. That was a very big play from RNG's side. Look at Reckless, look at Caps. They instantly flashed away when they saw the engage. They could not chase the rest of RNG down.
And it was worth chasing because the death timer is 60 seconds as Baron is only 20 seconds out. That means at minimum RNG will have control of the pit. Any more than that, we have to watch and see.
The Cinch tries to waste all their time that he can, but he still gets caught at the end of the day, and that means 35 seconds of 4 versus 5 for the European team here as Baron spawns in 2 seconds.
It's almost too risky for them to try and stop it. If they get turned on and lose a fight, the game is over. Look at Fnatic. They're aiming towards the base instead. They don't have any minions right now. There's a wave though with Hylissang. It's not close enough, and the Baron is secured, plus the Baron buff with the recalls.
Baron secured. Fnatic just pushing out the waves, like you said, too risky. Can't try to 4 versus 5 that. You lose the game unless it goes perfectly. So now RNG again get to try to put the final nails in the Fnatic coffin. It's their Baron, it's their push, it's their momentum.
It's one of the few ways you can force Fnatic to square up, to actually fight you mano-a-mano, because you have the Baron, you'll roll through, you feel so confident in your 5v5. That on upgrade you were mentioning is there, the Molten Edge being worn by Uzi. Fnatic have to once again pull something out of the air like they did around the bot lane inhibitor.
And you would think that RNG are extra aware of that possibility now,
so,
considering they're the ones that essentially gifted the opportunity to Fnatic earlier. I expect a very level-headed approach from them as they go towards this down, not wanting to run past any more turrets, but we'll see if that's the case. Ace in the hole fired off, only finds Broxa.
Have to keep remembering the grounded effect into a fling from a Cinch. Suddenly you're split from your team, and Fnatic can try and take you down, but there is no flash for Whippo. It was used in that last little chase he had down towards the bottom lane, and that is a big thing for his own team back impact, because now RNG are gonna see him run at them. They can react appropriately.
Whippo, you would think he wants to find himself on the flank here as well, running directly at this RNG lineup, not likely to be very effective. Caps is off to the side, wants to see if maybe he can find an angle, but it doesn't look to be so. Seismic Shove only finding its way onto the minions. RNG continuing to push up bit by little bit, allowing that enchanted cannon minion to do its work onto the inhibitor. True Shot Barrage fired off, only does a small amount of damage. Blocking the Iron Solari shield going to be used there to block against it. Cannon minion tanks for a while, but still goes down. RNG push continues. The next minion wave is already colliding. Fnatic wanting to stay topped off here.
Yeah, Cinch Comp actually forcing in 5v5 and defending this well. It's not necessarily predicted, but it is so far sticking. You feel like Uzi is 2 autos away. Has not enough safety. There's those autos. They get 1 inhibitor. Remember, they needed a 5v5. Even though there was 2 inhibitors exposed, they only get the 1.
Again, missing that flash for Whippo just hurts them so much. Broxa can be the man to jump in though with his engage. QSS, however, is on for Xiaohu. It's there for Uzi, it's there for Ming. It is not easy to find a target. So Fnatic, they're lacking a good way to start the fight here, and RNG, they know that. So by them just sitting back and sieging, they force Fnatic to try and overstep.
Only the Weaver's Wall maybe exists as a way to create battle terrain rather than sieging terrain to start this up, but it's a multi-pronged process. He can't do it alone. But now RNG back away, push up, back away, and push up. No threatened engage yet by Fnatic.
Uzi will just continue putting pot shots into these turrets whenever he gets a chance. The cannon minion will do the same. Gets thrown forward by the Seismic Shove to keep it in range.
Oh, look at the bot lane as well. There's an army of minions on the way for RNG. Whippo can go down and clear it very fast. RNG knows this. Remember, they can step through the wall here.
Yeah, Searing Charge does create terrain there, so even that hope of making something happen needs to be fully pounced on instantly. Third and last inhibitor turret falls down.
Final inhibitor turret gone means RNG now have access to the entirety of the Fnatic inhibitor line. Will they decide to go for this one? Are they going to rotate down to that army of minions in the bottom side? Top lane inhibitor still at half HP. Ace in the hole fired off yet again. Fnatic looking for the opportunity here. They don't just want to give these away for free. You don't want to have those double super minions pouring in.
20 seconds on the flash from Whippo. Maybe then he can try and jump in, but man, it cost him so much. Because Fnatic have been sitting back and just watched multiple inhibs die, unable to start a fight.
2 inhibitors down, but at least it's still not that third one. As soon as that goes, you're in a world of trouble. You're pretty much stuck in the base. RNG seeing this opportunity, they go for the Elder.
And RNG, after their mistakes in the bot lane inhibitor, are dotting their I's, they're crossing their T's, they're definitely second-guessing every move they're making. They know they're in complete control. Should be the first Elder of the game, happily claimed by RNG.
And with 3 Elemental Drakes under their belt, that's quite a true damage burn being applied by that. It's a very daunting team fight task now for Fnatic to have to fight these guys.
And now we're getting the CZ rods coming in. Build it. Once you've placed it, go back, sell it. Buy a real damage item for yourself. It's Reckless who did it this time around. It's just, again, to try and create more push from your base to buy more time for your team. It's a small thing for Fnatic, but it shows how much gold is in this game already.
It's going to have to be the small things. That flash is up for Whippo, the big engage there onto the ground, and that has to be the case. A perfect wall, maybe that's it. They know they have to fight. The Alamo, the last place they fight for, has to be this third inhibitor.
In a situation like this, where a loss here means you're out of the tournament, you've got to take every little advantage, every little possible avenue you can to try to raise that chance of victory. The push will still continue here from RNG. Remember, the Elder Drake burn doesn't last a terrible amount of time on the first take. So Fnatic will try to weather that storm.
So I have to look always at Ming on the Tom Kenshin, where he's positioned. If he's too far away from someone like Uzi, then there is that flash fling opportunity. Ideally, it maybe goes to Xiaohu, who's not sitting with the GA. You can burn him down before he gets to use the Hourglass. But if Ming is positioned correctly, he will always be able to prevent it.
And let me's boss, Zhonya's Hourglass, is saying, well, I don't have a QSS. If you want to focus me, I'll go into stasis and deal with my teammates. Definitely a different way to approach this sort of a scenario, but everyone has their toll if they're the ones that are going to be singled out by Skarner or even that Sage.
Caps' health bar is one of Uzi's auto attacks, by the way. So much damage on these late game full build carries. Whippo trying to utilize the ultimate to keep the regen up, clear out some of the waves, but the final inhibitor is taking damage. If RNG take this, it's such a huge gain in map control overall, and it means the Fnatic can't do much of anything. Glacial Fissure already going to be coming out. Whippo gets himself back. Fnatic can't hold this line any longer. The inhibitor falls, and RNG's got nothing but Nexus left to look at.
It's so hard for Fnatic to start the fight. They're very split up in how to try and engage. Bromold came in from Hylissang, but no one tried to follow up because he didn't hit the correct targets. And now, the minion's going to try now.
Or an ultimate comes through. This is going to be the fight. Let me able to find the control onto Caps. He's gone! And Fnatic will surely not be able to find the fight now. Skarner pull not going to be used effectively yet again. Xiaohu taken low. Fnatic still has 4 members of their roster alive, but RNG with 5 will still look to end the game. Xiaohu putting the damage on the Nexus turrets. They're still able to look for more into the fight as they proc the GA onto MLXG. He's going to look to be taken down here, but instead the damage comes through. Fnatic's members will fall, and RNG will win the fight. Reckless, critically still alive, trying to make a last-minute stand. Ming is taken low, Letme's taken low, MLXG hammering down on an Nexus, but that is game, and RNG will move on to the finals.
3-0 against Fnatic. They fell behind in the early game, but they always showed us why they are so good at fighting. Skirmishes, team fights, they can take all of them, and they keep beating Fnatic. This was one of the closest 3-0 series we have had, but RNG always showed us why they can win in the late game.
And even when they had that moment that you looked at as, wow, that could have been the throw, they came back, and like we said, crossing the T's, dotting the I's, making sure every single thing is taken care of from that point. They recognize the issue and immediately correct it.
To me, the most beautiful story, the thing I take away from this series, which does, of course, end Fnatic's spring season in many ways, is when you looked at their games in EU, they looked at the enemy teams and said, we can outscale, we don't have to pick the lane, we'll be the ones that always win that late game team fight. They finally, in their prep for RNG, sat down and said, okay, we're bested in the late game, we need to win it in the early game, because we cannot match RNG and Uzi in the 5v5 fights. They found a better enemy on the day. As you said, Deficio, they gave as good as they got. There were the jabs. It was a boxing match, but the pre-match favorite, as is often the case, comes out the victor.
RNG have to feel good about finding that win. They looked good in their wins. It wasn't perfectly clean, but at the same time, their team fight execution, their ability to stall out and play to win conditions was well demonstrated.
That's the thing I take away from this was, the ability to always match constant aggression, know how to react to it, so you're not just falling further and further behind. That being said, Fnatic had a lot of big moments where a small thing suddenly goes in their favor. Think of the Baron in Game 2, and that game looks completely different. So RNG showed that they can definitely bleed, but they can also fight back.
And I think Fnatic take away for their adventures in summer, we can play a different style. We can show the proactivity that maybe only Vitality drew out of them in the playoffs over in EU. So a learning excursion, Caps stepping up and becoming a man in front of the world audience. There's still a lot of good to take away from Fnatic, even though it was a 3-0.
And even better things to take away. If you're RNG, you
Absolutely.
just continue again with Uzi in the late game team fights, but MLXG comes into this last game here. He's like, I'm ready to play this style. He's just rushing around everywhere, fighting people left and right, and it was enough for RNG, once we got to that 20-minute mark, to turn a big fight around, take the Baron, and they showed much better control around the big objectives than Fnatic.
They showed the ability to not only be aggressive, but be patient, to play however they needed to play in the moment. And that adaptation is so important when you're playing in these best-of-5 series, when you're playing in these high-stakes matches, and whoever ends up winning tomorrow has quite an opponent to face.
We definitely look forward and say for both Kingzone and the Flash Wolves, can you show something that can stand up to the shield of RNG, the inevitability of the late game? If it's to be Kingzone, it needs to be the very best of what we saw on the LCK. They haven't found that on the world stage, and for the Flash Wolves, they win. It's a whole different ball game as well.
It's going to be awesome.
Yep.
I love the fact that RNG are not winning by playing, you know, the super clean, slow style.
Nope.
Like, if a team is attacking them, they attack back. And that is the thing they're bringing to MSI.
Well, RNG have earned their spot in the final. And to hear from the winners themselves, let's send it down.